Welcome to Karuna-Yoga with Compassion, your weekly journey into the heart of ancient wisdom for modern times. Today we reach the summit of our exploration into Patanjali's 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. We've traversed the ethical foundations of the Yamas and Niyamas, the physical discipline of the Asana, the breath control of Pranayama. We explored the withdrawal of senses and Pratyahara, the concentration of Dharana, and just last week we touched upon the meditation of Dhyana. And now we arrive at the culmination, Samadhi. I'd like to take a moment to invite you to call us, 1-877-265-5992. I repeat, 1-877-265-5992 to share your thoughts with us on today's topic. As you're tuning in, I'm your host, Kiran, and I'm, as always, extremely thrilled to be with you as we delve into perhaps the most profound and often misunderstood aspect of yoga philosophy, Samadhi. If you've been following our series, you know the 8 limbs are not a ladder to be climbed and then abandoned, but rather interconnected aspects of a holistic practice, each one supporting the other. And mind you, Samadhi isn't an end point where the journeys stop. It's a state of being, a profound experience of union that informs and transforms all the other limbs. Think of it like this. You've learned to play an instrument, their earlier limbs. You can read the notes, play the chords, follow the rhythm. But Samadhi is when you become the music. It's when the distinction between the player and the instrument, the musician and the melody, starts to dissolve. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras describe Samadhi as the 8th and final limb, a state of meditative absorption where the meditator, the act of meditation, and the object of meditation, they become one. It's often translated as union, oneness, or enlightenment, or yuga. But what does that truly mean for us in our daily lives? So let's start unpacking this term, Samadhi. In Sanskrit, typically broken down as sama, meaning equal, same, and dhi, meaning mind or intellect. Together, it suggests a state where the mind is brought to a state of equilibrium, or profound stillness, a state of non-duality. It's not about emptying the mind, but rather about focusing it so completely that the usual fluctuations and distraction starts dissolving. But it's not a unique idea to yoga. Across cultures and throughout history, humanity has sought this experience of profound connection, the ultimate truth or divine union. So, for example, in Buddhism, the concept like nirvana comes to mind, which is a state of profound peace, freedom from suffering, extinguishing your cravings. While it's not identical to Samadhi, there are significant parallels. It primarily deals with the cessation of your mental agitation. And in mystical traditions of Christianity, Islam, which Sufism, Judaism, Kabbalah, they speak of unio mystica or fana, where the annihilation of the ego happens. Moments of intense spiritual insight, direct communion with the divine, these concepts start playing a greater role. Even in secular terms, we've all experienced moments of this flow state. Perhaps when deeply engaging in a creative pursuit, an athletic endeavor, or even profound conversation, you seem to find that the time starts disappearing, your self-consciousness starts fading, and there's this feeling of effortless action in complete absorption. While these are fleeting glimpses, those are often a taste of inherent Samadhi. This significance of Samadhi, regardless of its cultural packaging, lies in its promise of liberation. Liberation from suffering, the incessant chatter of your mind, the form of the illusion of separation. It's about realizing our true nature, which is said to be beyond the limitations of an individual ego. Now, through generations, also, this has been understood a little differently. For example, for older generations, particularly those more connected to these traditional spiritual practices, samadhi or similar states were often seen as this ultimate goal of a lifelong spiritual quest, requiring significant renunciation and dedication. It was often shrouded in mysticism. And for today's younger generation, when I look around, my children or other young adults at workplace, perhaps it's less common to use the term samadhi, but there is this growing interest in mindfulness, in presence, or escaping the constant digital noise. They seek a way to find an inner peace and clarity when they feel overwhelmed. This yearning for deep connection and authenticity may not be labeled as samadhi, but it resonates deeply. They might express it as finding their center or being present or getting into the zone. The language is changing, but the underlying human desire for profound stillness and meaning remains consistent. Now, that was a lot to take in. We've talked about samadhi and what it is and how, in a sense, it echoes across various cultures and generations. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a state that felt like profound union or complete absorption, even if you didn't call it samadhi? Or do you understand the concepts like nirvana or spiritual enlightenment in your own life? I want you to give me a call right now, 1-877-265-5992, and share your perspective. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. If samadhi is this profound state of peace and union, how on earth do we begin to approach it in today's hyper-connected, often chaotic modern lives? The challenges are numerous. Information overload, let alone anybody else's. My mind at any given time is constantly thinking about 10 different things: social medias, emails, business, work, children, friends. It just doesn't stop anywhere. And that needs a fragmented and a focused thought that I have to put on each one of them. There is this constant distraction, the fear of missing out. When two of my friends meet, I don't. I get that fear of missing out. What did I miss? Why did they meet without me? So this dedicated, uninterrupted time of introspection doesn't happen. And added to this, our modern lives comes with these high levels of stress, agitated nervous system. And it's really hard to find that calm and get this little 2 minutes or 3 minutes for these deep meditative states. And not to mention the culture that we are all in today. It often emphasizes individual achievement, self-promotion, this cultivation of strong external identity. This can make the idea of dissolving the ego feel counterintuitive or even threatening. I know a lot of people, when you ask them, when you meet them, or when they meet you, the first question, what do you do? That's what we do to strangers, for their name and what do they do? And that's the beginning of setting up the ego. How are we different from others? What are the things we're doing different from others? How do I sell myself to the others? And then this lack of guidance above all. In the old and traditional societies where spiritual mentors were common, in today, our journey, we are on this without proper guidance, making it feel overwhelming or even sometimes impossible. So how do we bridge this gap? How do we cultivate the conditions where samadhi in a world that seems designed to pull us in every direction can be attained? That's the big question, isn't it? The challenges of modern life can feel like they're actively working against the stillness that we need in samadhi. I'd like to know, what are some of the biggest obstacles you face in finding those moments of peace or deep focus in your day-to-day life? Perhaps it's the constant notifications on your phone, on your laptops, on your watches. the demanding schedule that each one of us have, or just the sheer mental exhaustion at the end of the day. I'd like for you to call in and share your experiences. Number is 1877 265 5992, and I'm open for your thoughts. Repeat, the number is 1877 265 5992. Now, it's clear that we are all navigating similar waters. If Samadhi is this profound state of union, how do we actively move towards it and nurture its emergence? It's crucial to understand that Samadhi is not something you force. Rather, it's a state that unfolds when conditions are ripe. Think of it as this ultimate fruit of all other limbs. You prepare the ground, you plant the seed, and the Samadhi blossoms naturally. So, coming back to the realities of life, let's explore how to cultivate these conditions, both on the mat in our dedicated practice in the studios or at homes, and in our daily lives. So, on the mat, when you're practicing your yoga or when you're in any form of exercise that you're part of, how do you prepare for Samadhi or experiencing that? In your dedicated time, the first thing we can do is, while practicing asanas or the postures, we might seem far from Samadhi because it's the primary role in this context is to create a body so steady and comfortable that it becomes imperceptible. When you can sit or lie down without discomfort, the body ceases to be a distraction. This physical stiffness is foundational, stillness. It allows your awareness to turn entirely inwards, removing all the obstacles towards Samadhi. The deeper your asana practice, the more effortless you can sit, which directly supports the long periods of concentration needed. So, for example, in your first class, just sitting cross legged may be a little difficult. What do? We provide you a little support. We put you against a wall. We give you a little pillow to sit on. You do that every day. And eventually, you won't need the pillow to sit on. And you will find that comfort. The whole idea of asana practice is find the comfort so that the body starts dissolving and it doesn't bother you for attention anymore. And then we integrate the breath. It's often called the horse of the mind. By mastering pranayama or breath control, you directly influence the state of your mind. Practices that lengthen and smoothen the breath, like extended exhalations or subtle ujjayi breath, it calms our nervous system profoundly. A quiet nervous system translates directly to a quieter mind, which in turn reduces the chatter. When the prana or the life force is still, the mind naturally flows, leading you closer to the stillness of the mind. And then you add in the Dharana and Dhyana. Dharana is the training ground for your single pointed focus. So you pick one object of meditation, maybe the natural flow of your breath, or the specific chakra you want to focus on, or maybe a mantra, that you have committed. And then you commit your entire attention to it. The mind will wander, which is quite natural. Don't judge it, but bring it back. Practice is the consistent, gentle return to that attention, to that single point. And then finally, Dhyana. When focusing becomes effortless, and then slowly you see that your attention remains continuously fixed on the object for some time, then you have entered Dhyana. There is no longer doing of meditation without conscious effort. That's when you go in. The flow of state is flowing. The awareness is sustained. That is Dhyana. And that's where you might feel the moments of timelessness or profound peace. Now, off the mat, how do we integrate the Samadhi to these conducive states into our daily life. I'd like to think personally that Samadhi isn't confined to a meditation cushion that you're sitting there and spending time and finding a state of union and all that sorts. The experiences cultivated on the mat that we practice every day can be nurtured and reflected into the daily lives of interactions, perceptions that we make, which makes the state more accessible and integrated with the lives we are living today. So, the first one could be as easy as ethical living for inner harmony. The Yamas and Niyamas are ethical guidelines. They are just not more, are moral rules, thou shalt not, kind of, but they are practices that purify the inner landscape. When you are practicing non-harming or ahimsa or truthfulness, especially towards self, satya, or the contentment every day, then the mind experiences less internal conflict, less regrets, less agitation. A clear conscience and a heart free from desires or aversion, right there you have profound inner harmony. Another way we can look at or integrating samadhi into our daily lives is being mindful presence in everything we do, all our actions. So extended that single point of focus or dharana into everyday activity. When you eat, only focus on eating. When you walk, watch your feet, feel the ground, place one foot in front of the other, observe the surroundings, don't judge. Practice single tasking or mindful awareness. Then we can also think about how do we cultivate moments of stillness, small moments, little moments of stillness. Intentionally seek out and savor moments of pure stillness throughout the day. They might mean pausing for a few breaths before opening an email, consciously appreciating the silence in a quiet room, first thing in the morning, maybe go into a backyard, experience the grass, feel the quiet. Or it could be as simple as gazing out a window without any agenda. Just lift your head off of your laptops, your phones, and look out. The idea is to disengage from overstimulation. This could be called a Pratyahara off the bat by setting boundaries. There's a certain time you can engage with technology. There's a certain time you will give yourself to catch up with the world, the news, and the happenings around you. And give yourself these moments of silence, the detoxing. Cut yourself off of those apps and all for a few minutes or more hours. This reduction in external noise creates that spaciousness for that samadhi to arise and find its place. So ultimately, the path to samadhi is one of refinement and letting go. It's about meticulously preparing the mind and the body through dedicated practice and mindful living. So when the conditions are perfect, the whale lives, and the experience of profound union just is. We've covered quite a bit until now on how to cultivate samadhi. I'm sure many of you have your own practices or ways that you find this deep focus and peace, whether on your mat or in your daily routines. What's one practical tip that you can probably use to quiet your mind or feel more present that you'd feel can be shared and we all can learn from it? So call us, please, 1-877-265-5992. I repeat, 1-877-265-5992, and share your wisdom with all of us listeners. Now, we move on to this million-dollar question. How do we know we are actually experiencing samadhi or we've experienced it? This is a tricky question because samadhi, by its very true nature, transcends ordinary language and conceptual understanding. It's quite abstract. I'll take a moment. I think we have someone on the call. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Ashtanga.
Sorry, can you say your name again?
Sorry, I'm driving, so there may be some background noise. My name is Archana.
Archana, hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you for this program. This is very informative and something I enjoy listening to this time of the day on Sundays.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means a lot. So, do you have thoughts or anything you want to share on today's topic, Archana?
I, I'm not that advanced, but I do try myself,
Yeah.
um, and I liked what you said about the children. I have a Gen Z and a daughter who's going to be getting soon. So it's in fact I was just coming back from Raj Yoga, and I was talking to her while driving, and she says, "I really appreciate what you're doing, Ma, but I don't understand, and it's a lot."
Yeah.
And so I said, I completely understand where you're coming from, and I left it at that. But, as you said, it's very good how you put it. They're all, it's just the terminology is different now.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
they are also looking for things, but they are terming it differently, like centering, as you said, centering, and then mindfulness. These are things. They are also doing yoga. Their yoga class. They love their mats, different colored mats.
Yeah.
So it's good to know that it's going back to the roots, but in a different light.
Yes.
So that helped me, and I'm sure I'll get back to her with this. Also, one thing that I try starting with, and I encourage my children, is just start with 1 or 2 minutes a day.
Right.
Don't have to do too much. And as you said, you need the body still first before the mind. The body has to be flexible. So maybe after exercise, all these kids go to the gym, do all sorts of flexibility, running. So after exercise, when the body is a little bit more flexible and warmed up, before they go out for their whatever they do in the evening, just starting with literally put an alarm for 2 minutes, and just find that one place that's a little quieter and start there. And that's how I started. And now I can do almost an hour of, I wouldn't say complete meditation, but I can bring my mind back. And so, and it's okay if you can't do cross-legged. It's okay. Do it the way you want to do it. Do it on the chair. Do it on the bed. However you want to do it. But as far as you can get a quiet body and a quiet mind, even for a few minutes, that's very good. It's a good start.
Spot on, Archana. Thank you so much. And this is exactly why I have been coming online and sharing, because it's hard to, first, we are adults. We took our lifetime to understand these concepts in our own ways, and we have had the support system around us to take us there. And today's modern world, it's a little difficult. We often catch ourselves moving away from these concepts, as well as it becomes harder for us to share, like you mentioned, explain the younger generation. So thank you so much for reiterating that it's connecting, because I often find myself wondering, is anybody listening? Does it make sense? So that means a lot to me. And I will continue to bring such abstract concepts to ourselves. And I agree with you. It has to start somewhere. The simplest thing that I actually advise everybody else is use their watches or the Calm. They have a minute, stand up and walk around kind of things. Those are easy, doable ones for children. So thank you for your call, Archana. I look forward to speaking to you again sometime soon.
Thank you so much, and please continue what you're doing. There are people listening to you.
I will. Thank you. I will.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye. You too. Take care. So, you've all heard. So, this going back to my uh, when we all talk about these things, we start questioning ourselves: how do we know we've gotten there? So, when the mind stops fluctuations and all that, you lose a self consciousness. There is no temporarily. I don't think about myself. That's the losing I. There is this concept of eternal moments, like they just last forever, kind of. There is awareness on how I'm breathing, how my body is. Those are the things, little subtle clarity, insights that are coming along with these movements. That is your samadhi. And as we wrap up and as we conclude our series on this Patanjali's 8 limbs, remember that samadhi isn't an exotic destination, but we all have that potential within each of us. It's the natural consequences of consistent, dedicated practice, a profound, in again, in today's modern children's language, homecoming to our true selves. It's the ultimate answer to all the challenges that we are facing today. We just need to sit down, calm, and the thoughts will come, solutions will come by themselves. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep cultivating these moments of stillness. I'd like to thank you all for joining me on Karuna-Yoga with Compassion. And until next time, may you find peace in every breath. Namaste.